So we are continuing with our Sucked into Space plan, and I want to give you some tips because my goal for you is to have you finish your plan and then start on the final paper. So with Sucked into Space, we have a bunch of examples that are on the screen here. We have a vanishing point in the middle. You're going to come up with some kind of theme. And I just wanted to add in there, if you heard the announcements this morning, they were talking about Reflections, which is a PTA New York State competition. And the theme this year for Reflections is I will change the world by, and however you think you'll change the world, that's the artwork you could create. That's optional. But if you want, you can change your Sucked into Space. I wish I knew this yesterday, but you could change your Sucked into Space theme to something that will positively impact the world. And these will be done by the end of October. So you could resubmit them if you like to do reflections. And we'll talk more about that, but I'm just putting it out there. So here we go. I want to do a demo with you. Oh, this is so exciting. And yesterday, my theme or place that I came up with was the beach. And the tip that I gave you is to start with basic shapes. And I'm even going to go as far as to suggest ovals and rectangles. So you'll do your ovals, your rectangles, you'll attach them to the vanishing point. I start around the edge, I make them really big. And then I actually go back once I've created a cylinder, a skinny rectangle, and then I look at my theme and go, what could this be? The other big tip that I have for you is to repeat. So I had a student in my other class who was doing art supplies, and she had one glue stick, one pencil, one paintbrush, and she was like, I don't know what else to do. And I'm like, repeat. I have probably 400 paintbrushes in the art room. I have like 200 pencils. And she was like, oh, I could do that? Yes. So if you're drawing something that looks really good, I'm going to use the example of the coffee cup over there from the red table. You draw a bunch of coffee cups. That's totally fine. So repeat your basic shapes. And then the next step for many of you, some of you are asking me about organic shapes, things like food that's not in packaging. So if you're doing a cereal box, great, it's in packaging, it's a rectangle. But if you're doing a hamburger, that's not maybe in packaging. So maybe things like apples, pumpkin, food, trees, leaves, people, animals. Those are hard to draw because you cannot attach them to the vanishing point. So look up here. I'm going to give you a tip. Tip number 1, you do not have to draw the whole thing. So instead of drawing a whole person, for example, you could just draw part of the person. And tip number 2, point the things that you draw towards the vanishing point. And they'll look like they're getting sucked in. So instead of person standing up in the front, which looks really cool because she's cheering, now all of a sudden, she's a little bit more scared because she's getting sucked in. Over here, pointing this way, pointing this way, pointing this way. So angle your objects towards the vanishing point. Maybe you just have random feet sticking out. So that's my tip for anybody who's drawing something that's not a geometric shape. Angle it towards the vanishing point. And if you're drawing things like apples, food that's coming out of packages, so this is my box of cookies, the rule is bigger towards the outside, smaller towards the vanishing point. So my cookies kind of disappear. I know that's hard to see, but they were a little bigger, then they got smaller. So I don't know, what else could I do? This is water. So my water is kind of wide here and skinnier towards the vanishing point. That's my third tip. So angle things towards the vanishing point, bigger on the outside, smaller closer to the vanishing point. And oh yeah, maybe the sand is coming out of the bucket, so I'll point it this way. So it like gets really small. Maybe I'll do like a shell or something, so it's a little bigger, smaller. Yeah, so bigger to smaller. Angle it. And I forgot the third thing I told you. I don't know. Oh, you don't have to draw the whole thing. Alrighty. Once you feel like you are done with your plan, and don't spend too much time. Of course, this morning, I hate to use examples, but I had somebody draw the coolest, most detailed thing. It took her all period long. It was in her sketchbook. And then she's like, oh, I have to redraw this on my final. Yeah. So just do the quick version. You don't have to like add all the details. You see, I just wrote them. Like I could even do person and spend all my time drawing the person on my final paper. Your final paper is this big square paper. It's much bigger. Put your vanishing point in the middle. Use a pencil. Do not use markers for this, even to outline. We'll get there probably at the end of next week. For now, use your pencil. Do your big shapes on the outside. So things like my towel. Use your ruler, attach it to the vanishing point. And then, this is my last tip for today because I'm giving you like so much. Then I want you all to use resources, which means you're looking at something while you're drawing it. So this is silly. It's a beach towel, but I'm actually going to open my Chromebook, search up beach towel, and I'm going to look at images. Maybe I'll look at sunscreen. Maybe I'll look at sunscreen clip art. And here's the thing. Nobody's going to look at your search history. Nobody's going to look at what you're working on. But if you look at something while you're drawing it, it's going to be a lot easier. And when you look at the colors of it, not next week, but the following week when we add color, it'll also help. So for example, if you have like an Elmer's glue stick, when you add the blue, the orange, the traditional Elmer's colors, it's going to look really, really good. And people will recognize it. So look at pictures while you're drawing, and that will definitely help you out. Nobody needs to know that you looked at a resource, but trust me, it's going to help you so much. So while you're drawing even the coffee cup, look at a picture. If you're drawing a leaf, look at a picture, and it will help your drawing. But you don't need to do that until you're on the final big paper.